What is your take on this? I mean, how is our Prime Minister supposed to respond to this? How are the other members of NATO supposed to respond to this? The tone is combative, aggressive, you might say, threatening, you might say, all sorts of things guaranteed to make everything highly pressured and highly, highly delicate and difficult. Is this the sort of scenario where Macron and Starmer just roll over and say, OK then? Or what? Will Denmark ever do such a thing? 0345 606 0973. If you've just joined me and you don't know what all the fuss is about, it is a breaking news story that Donald Trump has just announced on a social media platform, of course, that he will impose 10% tariffs on NATO countries, which includes us, the UK, France and Germany, all of whom have deployed troops to Greenland. This is amid US threats to take over Greenland. He says Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands and Finland have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown, and adds this is a very dangerous situation for the safety, security and survival of the planet. And he says that he's going to put a 25% tariff rate in place from June the 1st. Its tariff will be due and payable until such a time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland, he said.
I think our country in Europe need to all get out of NATO. We need to form a European alliance. And what we need to do then is put a 50% tax on all goods going to and from America. Plus, if any American planes want to land on our airports, we charge them £1,000 to land. And if you want to take a plane to America, then it's £1,000 or euros.
And do you think there's, I mean, I can see that you're cooking this up at the kitchen table in Liverpool, Eric, but do you think there's any chance at all that we will rise up against the might and main and force and military force of Donald Trump and impose anything at all that might actually punish the United States? Is that really going to happen? It hasn't so far, has it?
Well, I think it's about time it did, because he's a very dangerous man. And I think in America now, there's a lot of people who are against him, but the problem is we've got another few years of him. And, you know, he's created a fascist state in America now. You know, if you go to America, they want to know about your social media and everything. If you're black, you can be dragged off the streets by them. They're not ICE agents, they're thugs. They stormed the White House. I mean, they nearly caused another American revolution. They injured a police officer so badly that he had to leave the force. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, you need to stand up to... If you don't stand up to a bully, then he'll just take more and more. We treated him like a king. You know, we let him go to Buckingham Palace. King Charles...
We kept him in Windsor, didn't we? We didn't let him go to Buckingham Palace. But I mean, you know, you might say the reason in general that people don't stand up to bullies is because they're scared stiff of them. Often they're bigger, taller, stronger. They enlist other people on their side. You're just a small oppressed minority. It takes enormous guts to stand up to bullies, doesn't it? And you never know what the consequences might be. They might be a bloody nose. They might be they might be worse. You don't know.
But look, when I was at school, right, everyone got bullied by this gang. And what I done, I got all the people this person bullied, got them together, and we knocked hell out of the bully. I said, go for the bully first, you know, punch him in the face. He went down, you know, and obviously he got into trouble, but all our parents went down, and in the end it was solved. Now, the alternative would have been that bully could have bullied us, and we could have failed our exams and ended up... You know, I mean, you've got to stand up to them. And no, if you get hurt, you get hurt. Imagine if you would have took that attitude when the Second World War started.
True. Absolutely.
I think it was coming because it did indicate that last week, or towards the end of last week, that he was going to implement tariffs. And I think Europe is spineless. They won't stand up to him anyway, so they'll let him take Greenland. But then...
Hang on, do you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. They're not going to do anything.
That's not what our Danish correspondent said, is it? He said it's absolutely inextricably enfolded in Denmark folklore and kingdom and history, and they're not going to do anything of the sort. And they said if they do anything, it would be to give Greenlanders independence from Denmark, not hand them over to Donald Trump for a couple of guineas and a nice turkey for Christmas. They're not thinking of doing that, are they?
Yeah, I think words are cheap, and it's being very idealistic of what the correspondent said. said. I think the reality is that nobody will stand up to Trump in any case. So that gives him carte blanche. So he can sort of walk into any country as he wants. He had this idea with Venezuela, which failed because it requires considerable investment. And all of a sudden, the human rights have gone out the window, and it's now investment in the oil industry. So you can't believe what this guy says. So I think the only alternative
So I don't know whether you voted Labour at the last election or not, but I do know that Keir Starmer is our democratically elected Prime Minister. He's meant to represent you on the world stage. He's meant to represent me, Adam. He's meant to do as we would want him to do. So what do you want him to do?
I want him to stand up for the rights of the British and stand up for Europe, because if they think anything of NATO, he has to stand up. Otherwise, NATO is pointless.
And will he?
No, I doubt it. It's just like the United Nations. They're not fit for purpose.
And what about the rights of the Greenlanders? Do you care about that?
Oh, definitely. But the Greenlanders, I think they want independence. Now, whether they're easily sold, where Trump offered them $100,000 each or something like that. So all he has to do is print more money from the mints and hike that. So if everybody's getting $200,000-$300,000, I'm sure they're going to align with Trump.
Gosh, there are lots of people here who wish that they could have it as well, get a bit of independence and check for $100,000 from Trump, and they'd go wherever he wanted them to go, even to start a new life in Greenland.
I am not surprised that this has happened. Trump has been saying all along, I think he feels frustrated and fed up with the NATO, the European side. He feels that they've used America. When they've gone into wars and so forth, they rely on America so heavily to spend on them. They haven't pulled their weight, and then they want to take the glory for it. I think he's fed up of, it's like the money train's finished now. He's fed up of propping up Europe. And, we can't keep thinking about Second World War. We have to think about what's happening now. And the fact is that Trump is fed up of Europe and the fact that they have been using America for many years. If something happens or Greenland is attacked right now, America will be expected to spend more, to give more, maybe lives, boots on the ground, money to defend.
But is
Greenland.
Anyone thinking that anyone's dreaming of attacking Greenland? It's about 99% ice, solid ice.
But if they have their intelligence and so forth. And if he's feeling that Russia or China or Iran is going to try to invade or do something to Greenland, or he wants to get there first, because if that does happen, it's America dollars that would be spent, and he wants to make sure that he owns it, so that if America's dollars are being spent, it's his investment, it's theirs, rather than China or Russia or Iran.
No, but they're insisting
over.
there have been no Chinese anywhere near Greenland whatsoever, not even fishing, not even swimming, just nowhere near at all, and that the whole thing.
We know?
Well, that's what we're told, aren't we? That it's been kind of fiction. It's just invented. It's not even based on any kind of fact at all. So, are you really saying, Jenny, that Denmark should just hand over Greenland to Trump?
I am.
And do you think they will? They probably will. Do you think they will?
They will have to. I think they will have to. I mean, look at our Prime Minister. We're saying that we should all be united. When the BBC, the main media for the UK, sort of put two phrases that he said together to make it seem like he said something completely different. Our Prime Minister didn't even go on the news and stand up and say, look, this is ridiculous, this is wrong, they should have never done this to President Trump. He's our ally. So he feels that Europe is not his friends. They just pretended, but they want American money. So he feels this is not fair.
I feel like I need to book you a ticket to Mar-a-Lago to have a game of golf with him. I think you'd get on brilliantly, you two. He'd love you. You're so empathetic. You see his point of view. Never since his mother has a woman understood him the way you understand him, Jenny. I bet you understand him better than that old Melania, don't you think? I bet you get him. You get him in a way that she's never really got him.
I mean, I probably watch about 5 hours of CNN a day, and plus I've taught politics. And I'm from California.
All good. All of those things in your favour in every way. So you give me a thesis on this, because
the thesis is that the 25% tariffs are not going to happen, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
The Supreme Court any day now it has been asked to debate whether it's constitutional for these tariffs, for the president solely without Congress to actually put these tariffs through. Now, if they rule it is not constitutional, then he will these tariffs he will not be able to do what he's doing because he won't have that power. They will have taken that away from him.
Right.
So that's any day now that's coming down. The new Reuters poll yesterday came out to say 1 out of 5 Americans do not approve of us going into Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Mark Carney's done huge deals with China.
Right.
And they're starting to do, Canada is basically treating the U.S. as a pariah trading partner. So they are not, the money that would have gone to America and the goods that used to go across the border are not. Factories are closing in America. The Jim Beam factory is closed for a year because they're not selling whiskey to Canada. These tariffs are starting to bite in America because Americans did not realize that the tariff would be imposed on them. And this is, and Americans are saying, I don't care about Greenland. My mortgage is too high. I can't feed my family. My health care costs are going through the roof because the Obamacare I'm not getting help with that. They don't care about Greenland. They are sick and tired of a president that does nothing for them but concerns himself with Venezuela, invading Greenland. And I just listened to Senator Murphy today. And when they were in the delegation in Denmark, and Lisa Murkowski, the Alaskan senator, basically saying this is incredibly unwise. And we are not just a partisan. Lisa Murkowski said, she said, I am a Republican, the only one here. This is a bipartisan issue. We do not want this. Americans don't care about it. Donald Trump is, to me, this is a poll loser for him. And I think he can talk all he wants. It's not going to happen. 25% is not going to happen. The 10% probably will, unless the Supreme Court rules against it.
All right. So you're sitting in Southampton. So you're in pole position to see what our Prime Minister is capable of doing, what he will be wanting to do, and what behoves him to do in these sorts of circumstances. So what do you see his response being, Lisa?
I agree with the person you just had on.
Right, or Allegretti of the Times. Yeah, he's a good person to agree with.
What he has to do is he has to bide his time because I think this will self-implode on Trump. And I do think that, already people are saying, so I would bide my time. I certainly wouldn't give in to Donald Trump. I'm a liberal Democrat Labor voter, and I wouldn't vote for Keir Starmer now, basically because the way he has handled this whole thing. He literally is it's disappointed me to see. And I understand why he did it with the tariffs. I understand our economy is in a hole, but there comes a time where you've got to decide which part of the argument you're going to be on. Are you going to be with NATO and your European partners, or are you going to go towards America? The best side of history is to be with NATO.